Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the reaction here today of Elon Musk officially launching the America Party, which happened yesterday. Many Republicans criticizing it, of course. Musk saying it's going to be a party for moderate Democrats, moderate Republicans, independents. You've got Mark Cuban and others, and rumors with Mike Pence now that he's going to be involved. I think that was a troll, but nonetheless, you've got Elon Musk following Andrew Yang. Is he going to be joining the Yang gang? Elon Musk, maybe it's going to be a ticket of Mark Cuban and Yang. What an absolute mess this is turning into. Trump, there was a report that Trump was possibly going to meet with Musk. I don't know if that's a real report, but if they meet, that would be very interesting considering this new party could be a real pain for Republicans. It seems like what Musk wants to do, and he said he wants to challenge in 2026. He's already filed. He wants this to be a legitimate party. And he said, well, if we can just siphon off 7 or 8 seats, congressional seats, we will have some serious influence in terms of, I think with Musk, the main thing was he's obviously extremely wealthy, at least on public record. He's the richest man in the world. And so when he was within the Trump administration, there were certain things that were not allowed to him that were allowed to Trump, with Trump being the president. I think there's some animosity there, and I would imagine this is an ego thing with Musk, and you could kind of see this coming from a mile away. There were people that said this is inevitable at some point. Their egos are too big, they're too powerful, and so we get Musk splitting from Trump after it was reported that Musk was not allowed in certain meetings. Musk would go head-to-head with Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. Bessent possibly punched him. I mean, this has all come out. And so now we're at the point to where Musk says, screw it. I want to have the power, and him doing this to undercut Trump during the midterms. I think he right now he's just so bipolar. And 2 months ago, he was all with Trump and he was campaigning for him 8 months ago. Now he's launching his own party to try and undercut him, saying it's the will of the people. He was born in South Africa. He's the richest man in the world. Is anyone really going to take this seriously? Are there going to be any Trump people that go to Musk and the people say, well, Trump is leaving? Yeah, but Trump is going to have a major say in the 2028 election. Any of the MAGA people are just going to vote for whoever Trump tells them to. Do people understand that? When people say, well, this Trump cannot run again, it doesn't matter. He's going to have a huge influence over the 2028 election. And it's very likely going to be Vance, and he's going to tell people to vote for Vance because he picked Vance for his VP. So people have to understand that. But when you look at this, you've got Elon. This isn't a joke. Third party hands the power to the Democrats, who will impeach Trump to fund ICE. Yeah, if they win the House, get ready for more filings on that. But, there is some fear mongering here. But the overall point is that, especially if you're talking about 7 or 8 races, considering how close the House is right now and how critical it would be for Republicans to hang on to that, this could be a very big problem when it comes to midterms. Now, when it comes to the general election, who knows with that? Especially if it was someone like Cuban spearheading it, I think that'd be very positive for Republicans, as Cuban is more liberal. I don't think there'd be many crossovers to where you've got maybe independents who voted for Trump that would now vote for Cuban, or moderate right-wingers that would now vote for Cuban. I think Cuban is seen as more of a Democrat. And so if Cuban spearheaded the party, whether or not that's going to happen, Cuban said he doesn't want to run for president. These guys always say that when they're really rich, they have these egos and they have to do the next big thing. And so maybe this would be the next big thing for him. But I think that would be positive if he ended up leading the party. This is interesting because you take a look at someone like RFK Jr., who was originally running as a Democrat for within the primaries, and they stonewalled him, and he runs as an independent. If the America Party existed, you'd probably have a legit middle ground with RFK Jr. Not saying he would win. I'm not saying he would even get a single electoral vote, but it would disrupt the election in a way to where he would receive a certain number in terms of the popular vote. And depending on how many Republicans get siphoned off to vote for someone like RFK Jr., if this was 2024 and the American Party was in place, or the America Party, I should say, was in place, you could have an issue. You really could have an issue. It just depends on what Musk wants to do. And with Musk, a lot of this is political power. He wants the power. He wants to go to Trump and say, I can derail you. And that's part of this, obviously. And with the amount of money that he has, you can see Mark Cuban signals interest in joining Musk's emerging America Party movement. Whether or not he would lead a ticket, Who knows? But that's out. And then you've also got this new update. Musk says he's forming new political party after fallout with Trump. Democrats going after Trump's mega bill tell their own stories of needing Medicaid. And yeah. And so how about the Medicaid psyop they've got running now to where they say, well, they're lying. Illegal immigrants never received Medicaid. It's in California state law. Starting in 2024, everyone was covered, regardless of legal status. It's in the law. And they just blatantly lie and say, this is crazy. Well, then how are we able to cut 70 or 80 billion dollars in Medicaid every single year? We're cutting that from the illegals and we're cutting that from able-bodied people. And people say, and this is right, when you look at the policy on Medicaid to where it's able-bodied people that aren't working, this is a total psyop. They say that no, this is a very popular position for the American people agree. Able-bodied not working, and then they try and come up with, what about dependents? What about caregivers, caretakers? This is all crap. They're trying to muddle the water. This is a popular thing, what Trump is doing. And then they say, illegals never got it. It's in the law. And then these liberals try and have it fact checked by Grok. And then Grok's like, no, this is serious. This is real. They were getting healthcare. Absolutely. Of course, these liberal states are going to do that. And so they just blatantly lie and say they never received healthcare. Why do you think we're saving a bunch of money by cutting illegals off of Medicaid? Where was that money coming from? Did we just make it up? We're going to save $80 billion a year or whatever it is. And depending on, sometimes they have to negotiate certain things. Maybe it was a little bit less than that. We don't know. But the original number was like 80 to 90 billion in savings. And so it's also just crazy how these people, they constantly talk about the deficit, and then we try and make certain cuts that are overall popular, and they throw a fit because no matter what Trump does, they're just going to hate everything. So we have to try and cut the entitlements because the entitlements are 50% of it. And I agree. I think, the military spending, I was against that. I was against raising it. But I am for the Golden Dome because it makes sense. If people aren't for the Golden Dome, they don't understand how the United States can really be attacked. We've got the Atlantic, the Pacific. Nobody's land invasion. Nobody's going to try a land invasion on the United States. It's from aerial missiles. So doesn't it make sense for us to have a sophisticated missile defense system? You think that would make sense. But overall, just looking at this, this is you've got, look at this, Dana Bash getting smacked down by Bessent. Oh yeah, then they try and estimate all of the things, and they say, how about the other fake stuff with this big, beautiful bill? Oh, it's going to raise the debt. All it's doing is extending the previous tax benefits that U.S. citizens had. And then they say, well, no, they try and make it to where those tax benefits never existed and they're brand new. They're not new. So that's why they say it's raised. Well, no, if you look at the actual, what Trump is doing based off of the tax cuts that he's putting in place, and he did have some more on top of the initial tax cuts that are being extended from 2017, and what's on top of it is really the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. But if you compare that to the amount he's cutting, they're cutting more than they're going to be losing in terms of the tax revenue. And on top of that, these are all based off of projections. There's no stone cold, this is how much money you will lose. You cannot say that because we don't know how much the economy will grow. So they never say that. They say, well, they're projected to be, you have to think about this. Think about what they're doing. They say it's $3.4 trillion over 10 years. No, we're extending previously existing tax cuts. So for you to say it's 3.4 trillion, that was already going to happen unless we made people pay more in taxes. So see how they try and manipulate it? What we're doing is, with all the cuts and everything like that, Trump is saving, and they bring it in like he's spending all. No. Yes, we're upping the military budget. It's not great, but we're saving a bunch of money. When you look at the entitlements being cut, you look at some of the subsidies, and I'm kind of against some of the subsidies being cut on renewable, but that's what they do, and it's the fossil fuels and it's Republicans, and so you do save money. You save money doing that, but it's all just so fake, and they use the Yale Budget Lab says the richest American. Well, yes, that's how it works in a capitalist society. If you lower taxes, the rich people already pay so much more, it's disproportionate because they make way more. And then when you lower everyone's taxes, their taxes are going to be lowered at not necessarily a higher rate, but higher in terms of raw money. Raw money, because they pay the most in taxes by far. And whether or not you think, well, rich people should have their taxes cut, whatever, the point is that they're purposefully manipulating the numbers when they say, well, the rich people are going to have it cut by the most, because that's how the tax structure works in the United States. People making under, 15K pay zero taxes. They pay zero taxes already. So it's like, oh, it's going to hurt them. They already pay zero taxes. We're talking about the people that are getting taxed in the country. And so it's important for people to understand that. They try and manipulate it. This is the major tax cut they're extending for the middle class. And so it's important to understand that. And whether or not you say, well, they should keep it for the middle class, but then tax rich people, well, there's negative things to that as well, because rich people do contribute in terms of with the creation of jobs and other things to stimulate economic growth. So look, the point is they try and manipulate all these numbers. They try and add all this extra debt. No, it's just extended tax cuts that were already done in 2017, and it was coming up in 2025, and the Democrats obviously were not going to renew it. The Republicans were. The Democrats were going to really up taxes on people, and it's like, well, if you make over 100K, well, really, is 100K a lot of money? Seriously? After what you guys did with inflation in 2022 and 2023? Thanks to you guys, it's really not that much money anymore, 100K. I'm not saying, well, boo-hoo to the people that make over 100K. 100K is a decent amount of money, but, is it really this like, oh, you're ultra rich if you make 100K, you should be able to be taxed at a crazy rate? Look at California. It's like a 56% rate. It's absurd. So they're just obsessed with like taxing people like 70% rates if you make over 100K, like 100K is this crazy amount of money. And that's what you get when you talk about these state income taxes being 13-14% in California and like 11% in New York. It is out of control. That's how you get over 50% in terms of total taxes. You had the federal, you had city, you had state. Yeah, it's a lot. And so, look, the point of it is this bill is going to save us money. Really, it is. They say it adds 3.4 trillion. Well, they're basing it off of us not extending. They're saying Trump should not extend the tax cuts. If he extends the tax cuts, it's going to add 3.4 trillion. The tax cuts were already going to be extended anyways. That was a non-negotiable. And now they're shocked, like, oh, how could he keep his campaign promises? So see all the fake outrage, and then they talk about Medicaid and just blatantly lie and say, I don't know who needs to hear this, but illegals are not getting Medicaid. Well, then why do we have Grok admitting that, yes, if you look at liberal states, they have it in their law, they will give illegals Medicaid? How are we able to save like $40 billion a year from defunding the illegals' ability to get Medicaid? Where did that money come from? Think about it. It just makes no sense. So that's really what people have to understand, how just they're blatantly lying about this bill. And I mean, the bill is, it's the way they estimate things. These are estimates. They're not exact numbers. And so there's going to be things in the bill that's not great. It's a massive bill. It is what it is. We wanted a huge funding increase for ICE. They spent a bunch of money on that. They're saying now, just because of the infrastructure and how much is required with all the hiring and the transportation, and they're saying it costs around $20,000 to deport a single illegal immigrant. They're offering around $1,000 for these people to self-deport. You might have to bump it up to $5,000 because, $20,000, it's a lot of money to get these people. We like to do it more efficiently than that. Honestly, that's why I'm saying maybe bump it up to 5,000. Get a lot more of these people to self-deport. It makes it easier on everyone. They get money for it, and we don't have to waste money transporting them and doing all this other stuff in terms of the legality of it to get them out of the country, while obviously it's going to cost more money to do that. So maybe they could do it more efficiently. I don't know. But the point of it is, yes, ICE was a huge focus on this bill, and deportations and immigration was a big focus, and they want to get all these people out. And there's estimates that say they've already got 1 million people that have self-deported. I don't know if that's true or not. We're going to need something to confirm it, but that is the overall point when it comes to this. So Musk launches his new party. it's going to go, well, we'll see what happens to it. They're going to really throw a bunch of money at some of these races. I mean, it does look like Musk is also going to give Thomas Massie a bunch of money. And so there's that anti-Israel component of this that could be interesting compared to where Trump is on that issue, where you're going to get Massie now possibly part of the America Party, maybe joining it, leaving the Republican Party, and Trump, and we know a lot of the MAGA people really looking to fund a primary challenger to Massie in Kentucky. And that's something that's going to be interesting to watch. And so we'll see how many current congressmen maybe join the America Party versus how many primary challengers there will be by Musk. Can he even do that? Is his filing to where that can happen with all these primaries coming up? He said he wants to impact the 2026 midterms. And then when it comes to 2028, is this something that can maybe be talked out between Trump and Musk? Because if you are the Republicans, you would much rather have Musk spend this money on certain primaries within the Republican Party that could potentially force rhinos out if they're primaried by more people that Trump deems MAGA or America First or whatever you want to say, and Musk spend money on them rather than create this entirely new party which potentially could undercut Trump. So there's a number of things to think about when it comes to this America Party, and Musk is likely going to pick his spots when it comes to these congressional races. Races that are probably pretty close, primaries that could go either way, boost his candidate up. But when you look at this party, I would say it would, unless, I mean, it depends who he picks. In a general election, who knows? I mean, if he picks Cuban, I think it would hurt Democrats. But from a standpoint where we're at right now with where Musk is and how he's seen within the American political spectrum, I do think it would hurt Republicans more for sure. But even that is iffy. I think it's very dependent on where the race is. What is it? Is it a primary? Is it some type of congressional district race? A lot of it's going to depend on that. And Musk is thinking, well, I have all this money. We're talking about these localized races. If I throw a bunch of money, maybe 10 times more money at 8 or 9 different races and pick off 8 or 9 seats and have some type of super minority within Congress, we could maybe stop things from going through and have significant power. And maybe that's how Musk gains his political power in America. And I think for Musk, it was very hard being part of the Trump administration and being so reined in from what he was allowed to do, because he's used to being the head honcho everywhere, whether it's Tesla, SpaceX. When you're talking about AI language model Grok, he's always the leader. He's always the sole decision maker. He's always the person that's cued in on everything. And so with the government, it's a lot different. And I think it is a power struggle between Trump and Musk realized he was never going to win that. And it didn't help that Doge was started to be seen by even Republicans as kind of a failure. And so it created this kind of breaking point between Trump and Musk. And then there were other issues, including like the head of NASA. Musk wanted someone who was going to be very buddy-buddy with him because of SpaceX. And Trump said, no, that person's donated to the Democrats. I don't want them. Musk got very angry and irritated about that. So there's all these different things that kind of break it off between Trump and Musk. But I think it mainly is Musk trying to gain significant political power in the United States. He has to do it by proxy. He can't run himself, nor I don't think he would be a good candidate personally, Musk that is. And so, with him being born in South Africa, we'll see who he ends up putting up. Could this be a situation, dare I say, Tulsi Gabbard, who right now is kind of in an odd situation with the Trump administration. She was kind of undercut with the Iran situation, coming out saying that Iran was not currently building a nuclear bomb. Yes, they had enriched uranium, but they weren't weaponizing it. And then Trump said she's basically lying and she's wrong. And then she's forced to kind of side on Trump. Could Musk try and recruit her with a Cuban or something like that? That you really don't want that to happen. You would like Cuban and Yang to be the ticket, or Cuban and Pence. I think the Pence stuff was a joke. Yeah, it's like these fake reports that Mike Pence is going to head the party. Imagine how hilarious that would be. Mike Pence and Chris Christie. Mike Pence as the presidential candidate, Chris Christie as the VP. J.B. Pritzker as the presidential candidate, Chris Christie as the VP. Imagine that. That's a hefty ticket. And so, but now Pritzker's going to be in the Democratic primaries. I'm just messing around. But who knows, honestly. And then you've got other people they're talking about. Andrew Yang, the return of the Yang Gang as the presidential candidate, Cuban as the VP, Dwayne The Rock Johnson possibly entering. No, I'm kidding. Because people always talk about him being an independent running. And so, listen, we'll see what happens with this Musk party. I'm more intrigued for 2028. 2026 is like, he's just going to throw a bunch of money at congressional races. He'll probably get Massey. I don't know if Massey will win, but there'll be a choke point between Massey and the America Party and Trump and the Republicans trying to win that primary. I think Trump right now has a massive advantage, so that's something that Trump can flex on because, I tweeted this out yesterday. I said, does Musk really have much political appeal in the United States? Democrats already hate Musk, and maybe there's some moderate Democrats that, like, really moderate Democrats that would potentially vote for a Musk candidate depending against a Democrat I'm talking about. Obviously, they'd vote for it against a Republican, but from the Republican side, it's going to be the tech bros. It's going to be a lot of those donors that sided with Trump because Musk was with Trump this past cycle that you would get going to the America Party, which again, the America Party, it's like, balancing the budget. I understand to a degree. Getting rid of, another great thing they could tackle would be the insider trading when it comes to the stock market. That would be a good thing for the America Party. But Musk was born in South Africa. He's extremely pro H1B. I mean, what are we doing? This is the America Party, seriously? It's kind of ironic. But either way, guys, we'll have to see how well it does. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.